Hello everyone, hopefully you can hear me and not my dog grumbling in the background. I have a feeling that she might have something to say to us today. Hopefully she can stay quiet while we're doing this quick watch webinar together. Right, I'm going to share my screen with you. Let's see if I can find the screen. Okay, hopefully you can see my internet search toolbar. I'm typing in early years evidence store and scrolling down to select the early years evidence store. We're going to go into personal, social and emotional development for this session today. You hear my dog. She's been quite grumbly. And I want to just show you the PSED theme. There's 7 themes altogether in the early years evidence store, and the purpose of this webinar is to explore the PSED theme. In the PSED theme, there are 7 approaches, and within each approach, there are multiple practice videos. So you can see why we're taking 7 weeks to cover this subject. 7 seems to be the magic number today, doesn't it? So in a minute, I'm going to be talking to you about the key findings, which you will always find at the top. It's the first thing I go to when I go into any section of the evidence store. I want to know what the evidence is. And then I will be talking about scrolling all the way down to the end to a download. Okay, so that's basically the page I'm going to look at first of all with you. But there's 2 parts to this session. So much maths today. The second part of this session, which you can choose to watch now or later, is section 1, which is approach number 1 for PSED. Okay, and the page actually looks very, very similar. So it's quite confusing sometimes when you hop into different pages and you think you might still be on the same page. But again, there's this section at the top that I really want to draw your attention to, that talks to you about key findings and what the evidence says. We'll look at the practice videos in the second section of this session. You can see the different practices there. There's only 4 for this one. There are other approaches where there's more practices that we need to go into. And then I'll scroll all the way to the end because I want you to be aware of this additional download, which basically summarizes everything for you. It makes it really easy peasy to understand. Okay, I'm going to come out of this one. Stop sharing. And I'm going to share my presentation with you. Up as a slideshow. Thank you for your patience. Right, my name is Sarah Hercod and I work for the Early Years Southwest Stronger Practice Hub. And we're here together today to explore the Early Years Evidence Store, particularly focusing on PSED. This is a quick watch webinar for you based on the live sessions that happen once a month. There's 7 of them over the next few months. And they're really interactive sessions where we all learn a lot from each other and we build on what we already know, because one of the things I'm really passionate about is us learning from each other. We're all on a journey of learning together, aren't we? So some of you will be dipping in and out, and some of you will be coming to all of them. Some of you will be just watching on the quick watch webinars. But you're all welcome and it's wonderful to be here with you. Let's jump in and get started. So the early years evidence store is massive, as I'm sure you already know. There's a wealth of information to explore. It's broken down into themes, of which there are 7, approaches, of which there are many, and practices, of which there are millions. My job is to sort of refine those into takeaways that you can easily remember and apply to your own work, or just use as a well done. You're already doing most of them. So within these sessions, we will find out about the suggested practices, we'll watch the videos, we'll reflect on how the information relates to what you already know, and these sessions will hopefully give you the time and the space to do that. Time. Always a challenge in early years. My suggestion to you is perhaps block out half an hour or an hour once a month for some continuous professional development. Maybe commit to just watching 1 or 2 practice videos once a term within your staff meeting. Perhaps your team are all scratching their heads about a particular area. You could go to the evidence store, watch a video, and then just set yourself some action points from that to challenge your own practice. This link on the screen that I'm sharing with you now is from one of our other hubs, actually, elsewhere in the country, and they are offering a guided tour as an introduction, really, to the evidence store. And I strongly recommend that you go and have a look at that as a starting point before we dive into PSED. So if you want to stop this video, go and have a look at the evidence store in general, and then come back. By all means, do that. And I'll see you on the next slide. So diving into PSED theme, let's have a look at what it's got in there. I always like to start with the key findings, as I said in my sort of scroll up, scroll down moment earlier. And then what I try to do is just plant them in my head or write them on my hand or stick them in my diary to keep an eye out for them in my day-to-day work as a nursery teacher and a teacher of deaf children, because it helps me to reflect on my practice and to spot what my colleagues are doing really well and tell them, and we're all on this learning journey together. So the key findings in the PSED overview tell us that PSED approaches are beneficial. They need to be taught. We're not born with them. They need to be acquired along the way. The key findings tell us that multiple approaches are necessary, and when they're combined, that's where we see success in the learning journeys and the development of our young children. And the key findings also tell us that for those children who need a targeted approach, then we can individualise and pick approaches for them to see progress in their learning as well. When you scroll down in any of the approaches, there's usually a summary. Some of them are really short and simple, and some of them are really nice, like this one, which is a poster. You could print this and display it in your setting to get everybody thinking about how you teach and model PSED. If I've ever been on training, and I do love going on training, I like to think about how I might summarise it for someone who asked me about it. You know, where were you yesterday? What did you find out? And I like to challenge myself to sort of fit it into maybe a lift conversation or a corridor conversation where you just know that your time is going to be limited and you've got to get those 3 points out. So let's practice. PSED is beneficial. You're not born with it. You have to be taught. When you combine approaches, that's really successful for most of our children. We have to use targeted approaches for individuals. There you go. So within the PSED theme, there are 7 different approaches. And in the next section of this webinar, we're going to look at approach number 1, which is teaching awareness of emotions and feelings. But in the meantime, my challenge to you is familiarise with the overview and the key findings. Have a look at the summary sheet. I'm going to close this quick watch webinar now with one more slide. And I'll see you next time with a practice video. So before I go, or before you go, or before we move on together to part 2 of session 1, could you let us know if this was a useful quick watch for you as an introduction to the PSED support sessions? And that's all. Follow this QR code on your phone. Answer the few short questions, let us know. I hope it was really helpful, and I'll see you in the next video for teaching awareness of emotions and feelings. Thanks for coming.